Hey, everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com. It is the Thursday edition of Today in Sports Betting. We're back to the NBA, Scott. Are you excited? We took a day off, man. It seemed like a couple of junkies not being able to get their fix around here. So we're back to one game a day, man. It's like methadone. They've cut us out from the 4 games a day. We're down to 1 game a day, but it's okay, man. It should be a good one. Should be a good one today.
Hopefully. I know that yesterday I was pretty bored without any playoff action going on. You had no, of course, NHL because Vegas already got eliminated. You had no NBA because of the 2 games the day prior. And hell, you even had no WNBA playoffs. So, yeah, you really had nothing in the playoffs. I know. Just not right. But, I know that I ended up watching the Yankee game because I had nothing else to watch. And I think they're still scoring runs from the past 2 days. And, looking forward to some playoff action today.
Excellent. We had a nice little day. We went 2-0 on the baseball side on our premium pick. So that was a nice change of pace. Took a couple of small dogs with the Royals and also with the Dodgers. So that ended up working out okay. Funny thing, Scott, you get the Dodgers at -118. Pretty good play.
Yes. So believe it or not, getting the best team in the entire league at -118 tends to be a good play every now and then.
There you go. So moving on, we're taking a look at a pretty entertaining series. What promises to be an entertaining series. We thought it would be going in, and I don't know how you get much more entertaining than Game 1 going to overtime. A crucial block that they're still talking about. There'll be a block for the ages, if you will. And Scott, I know you've got a play on the day of this, so you're not going to be able to discuss the side with us. But let's talk about the total here just a little bit, Scott.
Well, you can still talk about the side, and you can give out your logic if you want.
I can, and the thing that I look at here, I going into this series, I thought Boston was the better team. I really did. But the fact of the matter remains that this Boston team needs to be a 3-headed monster. And right now, they're missing Kemba Walker, Scott. And they've been missing Kemba Walker for a while. Is he going to step up? Does the series really depend on him being able to execute better than he has?
I think the series does for the sake of Boston winning, especially since Miami has, in my opinion, the significantly better bench. So I think that does play a factor. I know that Kemba even addressed the fact that he was terrible the past couple of days yesterday. And some people are wondering if the moment's too big for Kemba. I highly doubt that, considering arguably the greatest college basketball run of all time. But at the end of the day, I think he's pressing a little bit. I think that he knows he's been playing badly and he needs to pick it up, and he's trying to pick it up so hard that it's not working out. And I think they kind of have to let the game come to him a little bit more. I do appreciate the fact that he did address publicly he's been playing like trash, because at least he's taking accountability for it, and he acknowledges that he has to play better in the future, which I think is a good sign moving forward. But as a whole, I agree with you. I think they need to be a 3-headed monster. Tatum still very good. That shot selection at the end of regulation, though, was absolutely disastrous. It was terrible. But then again, people don't talk about a Damian Lillard shot against Paul George was a terrible shot because it went in. So, and Paul George brings it up and people make fun of him. But that was kind of an equivalent there. It's a tie game. You're settling from a 3-pointer from 35 feet out. Go to the rim maybe once or twice. Not a bad idea. But yeah, overall, the Celtics really weren't in a bad spot in Game 1. They were up double digits going into the fourth quarter before they ended up blowing the game. Then they looked like they're going to blow it open in overtime. Harrell makes that huge 3 at the beginning of the shot clock with about a minute and a half to go. And then Miami ends up holding on because Jimmy Butler hits a 3 in the corner. The 3 in the corner was actually a regulation, but still. There were a couple situations there where Boston could have won the game, and Miami just made a couple of plays down the stretch. So I don't think it's time to push the panic button if I'm Boston. Having said that, I thought the series would go 7 to begin with. I thought this would be a war, and I expect Stevens to make some adjustments, and I think that this game should be very entertaining. But I don't know if you'll agree with me or if it's too premature. If Boston loses this game, are you calling the series a wrap?
No, I'm not. I'm not calling anything a wrap in this wacky postseason where we've seen one team come back from a pair of 3-1 deficits. I
agree with you, but I think that it's worth having the conversation.
Well, sure. I mean, it gives people in talk radio something to yak about. But
Well, I kind of just meant that if you think that this Miami team is capable of losing 4 out of 6 games, because I think this Miami team is really, really good.
they are really good, Scott. But they were still they still were able to play themselves out of a top seed. They were inconsistent during the season. I don't know. I know some teams just kind of put it together for a run, and they certainly looked good in their opening series. I don't know. I just don't think going down to 2-zip is.
I know Toronto did come back from 2-0, then ended up losing in Game 7, but they still came back. So it's definitely possible. I'm just asking because both these teams seem pretty even, and I'm curious if you think a 2-game advantage might be a little bit too much to overcome in the situation.
I don't. No, I think it's certainly you would have to favor the Heat at that point, but I don't think it's over by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think anything, with the possible exception of 3-0, I don't think anything is over in this series at all.
So let me ask you one question that I'm kind of curious about, revolving around Game 1. What do you think is more unlikely for Game 2? Jamison Crowder scoring 22 points or Marcus Smart scoring 26 points?
Well, you'd have to go with Jamison Crowder.
I agree. I'm just asking because both of those were kind of the anomalies for Game 1.
Although he's a shooter, and shooters can get hot. So
Crowder also can't really create his own shot, so that's also something to keep in mind. Marcus Smart had a moment there against the was it Raptors or Sixers, where I forgot which series it was, but there was one game where Marcus Smart went nuts from three-point range in the fourth quarter. I think it was against Toronto, one of the first couple of games. So he has had moments in the playoffs where Marcus Smart will randomly go off, but he's not much of a scorer in my opinion. I know that he has these moments that he's gotten better at shooting the three-pointer. He's clearly there for defensive purposes, and anything he provides offensively is a plus. And Crowder is a 3-and-D guy. So I agree with you. I think that Crowder is the more unlikely one to drop 20-plus points again. But then again, I don't think Boston can rely on Marcus Smart dropping 20-plus points again for Game 2.
Scott, do you worry about any kind of fatigue for Boston here? I mean, you've got multiple guys. You got four of their 5 starters playing 40 minutes plus, and of course Ty's playing 35 now. At some point, is that going to start taking its toll? Is the lack of a bench going to catch up with Boston? And here's another question: are we going to see Hayward?
Hayward, I did not expect not expect Hayward to show up in the series. I think he could show up maybe towards the back end if they really need the extra depth, because it seems like Hayward isn't fully ready now, but he might be fully ready for next series. That seems to be kind of the gist of what's going on.
No, the thing is, Scott, he's not going to be here for next series because he's going to go home with his wife. That's the thing. His wife is pregnant, and
I thought you meant because of the injury.
No, they've got a little window where they can use him. He told him before the playoffs started.
I forgot about that pregnancy stuff.
Right, he was going to go home at the end of September to be with his wife, giving birth to their child. So the ankle is supposedly okay. He's cleared COVID protocol. He's tested negative. He's back with the team. Why aren't we seeing him?
I'm not really sure, but unless his ankle isn't as fully healed as they're making it out to be,
that could be. But, that could absolutely be. But I would think just for depth, just to give these guys a blow, that maybe you'd want to plug Hayward in there for 10 or 15 minutes, if nothing else.
Yeah, especially with the bench. I know Wanamaker actually played really well in Game 1. He had 5 steals in 25 minutes with 11 points. He was actually very good. Kanter cannot be used in the series at all. Robert Williams can't be used in the series at all. Grant Williams will probably get a ton more minutes. Can't really shoot. Good defender, but he's probably going to play a lot more when Miami goes small. And you got Semi Ojeleye, who might play a little bit. But for the most part, that gives you an 8-man rotation. That gives you about an 8-man rotation because Kanter and Williams are basically useless for this entire series. There's a reason why Kanter played 0 minutes. It's because Stevenson knows Kanter can't guard anybody. So Kanter's not going to play at all in this series. But for the sake of the matchup, I do agree that it doesn't help when your stars are playing 43 minutes, especially after having a 7-game series the series prior.
Right.
Doesn't help. I think the one thing that Boston can lean on is the fact that most of their core is extremely young. So maybe they won't deteriorate as quickly due to the long minutes. or the high amount of minutes because they're very young. So maybe that'll help them cope with it. I don't think it's going to help. I think that might hurt them later in the series. But for game 2, I kind of like it in a way. I know that Miami's bench is so good that they can just rotate guys in and out. But I do love the fact that Boston knows the starting 5 that they need to ride and die with. And I do think that definitely helps them in late game situations because they've been in so many of them previously, and they know exactly which lineup they're going to be using in that situation. I think that does help them out. Because the Clippers have that issue where you're looking at the Clippers and you're going, I don't know who your best 5 is, and you're getting torched right now. And I don't think the Celtics have that issue because the Celtics know, oh, we got another 3-point game, 5 minutes to go. Yeah, we've been here 40 times. Yeah, we're just going to use the same people we usually do. I think that helps, don't you think, with repetition?
There's certainly something to be said for repetition, familiarity, knowing who's going to be where.
People are saying that's what killed the Clippers is the lack of chemistry, and I think that the Celtics don't have that issue.
Yeah, that's certainly the other side of that. Let me ask you a question, Scott. Are they ever going to be able to teach Duncan Robinson how to play defense?
Duncan Robinson, I'll give a pass to because he genuinely tries to play defense. I will give him a pass because some people are just not athletic enough to cover shooting guards in the NBA. And Duncan Robinson tries. Now, based on actual talent, Tyler Herro is clearly the better basketball player. It's not even close. Duncan Robinson's a great three-point shooter, and Herro provides a nice boost off the bench. He's kind of a Jamal Crawford role or not really Lewis, more Jamal Crawford, where he comes off the bench, but he plays 35 minutes a game.
Right.
Like a Manu Ginobili type. And I think we can agree that Herro is good enough to be starting on almost every single basketball team in the league. But Miami just decided, yeah, we're going to bring him off the bench, provide a little juice. So Robinson, is he a great defender? Of course not. Is he a good defender? No. But he runs plays, and he's a good three-point shooter. And I think you can agree that based on his limited athleticism, at least he tries. He doesn't just punt defense. He'll actually hustle, and that's good enough for me.
Well, no, but the problem with that is when you try and you're not good at it is you pick up a bunch of stupid fouls.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's nothing Robinson can do. The point is that Robinson's really good offensively because he runs sets extremely well, get open. He also is very good at setting screens for teammates. So he provides a little offensive spacing, and he can shoot because you have to guard him because he's one of the best three-point shooters in the league. But on the flip side, he's too small and too weak to really guard anybody. But they're trying. And Duncan Robinson, even if he gets into foul trouble, that just means more minutes for Herro. So
he's not small. He's 6'7".
He's 6'7", but I'm talking about frame-wise. I don't exactly think of him as a jacked human being. Well, that's all I'm going to say.
All right, fair enough.
I think you can agree with that. He'll get bullied on the ball if he has to guard anybody.
All right, so let's talk about this total a little bit because I do have a premium play.
I leaned to the over in game 1, and that ended up winning. It was over before overtime, so that really wasn't a sweat at all. But I'm going to lean to the under in this game for game 2. A couple reasons why I'm leaning to the under. First of all, Boston's rotations. I do think Grant Williams is going to play a lot more in game 2. I don't think Robert Williams is going to play at all, which should set up 10 free minutes for the bench, and I think that Grant Williams should be getting the bulk of those 10 minutes. And Grant Williams is a perfect under player because he has no offensive talent, and he's a pretty solid defender. And I expect Boston to go small a little bit more to try to deal with Miami's three-point shooting. They're just going to switch everything. So I see Boston going extremely small at some points in this game. And I think that Williams should get more minutes, which should help the under. Plus, you had 20-something points from Crowder. You had 20-something points from Smart. I don't really see that happening. And I think that with the exception of Boston giving up 30-plus points in the second quarter and the fourth quarter, Miami's offense was struggling a lot at times. And I think that you should see this game be kind of a war to 100. I think Boston and Miami might get over it by a little bit, but I see this game finishing somewhere around, I'd say, I don't know, 107, 101, something like that. So I'm going to lean to the under.
All right, and that's a pretty fine needle to thread there, my friend.
At 209 between two teams that are very good at shooting from the outside, it is a very thin line. But I think that after I said game 1 would go over because both teams would need to feel each other out and see how it worked out, especially with the sets they're running, etc. I think they're going to make the adjustments. I think this game will be lower scoring, and I think that this game will turn into a bigger defensive contest.
Yeah, that's the thing is you had a Miami team that shot 44% from deep. So you've got to make some kind of adjustments to that, even if you have to trade a little offense for defense.
I think Boston's going small. I think that's really the only thing you can do. You're going to have to chase them around the three-point line. And since Miami runs a ton of off-ball action, which a lot of teams should be running, I think Houston should be running that as well. Shout out to James Harden, who doesn't move off-ball at all. But, yeah, that's the thing is that Miami moves off-ball. They run a lot of back picks. They run a lot of screens for everybody. And the issue that you have is if Boston has a center in it, they are going to pick Theis apart because Theis is a very good defender. But when it comes to him chasing people around the three-point line, that's a disaster waiting to happen. So I think Boston will go small. I think they'll sacrifice the rebounding edge and pray that Tatum ends up getting 15 rebounds again like it did in game one. They'll try to, deal with that collectively. But defensively, Boston might have to go small because Miami has that many three-point shooters.
Do you think Brad Stevens makes that adjustment in this game, or do you think it's going to take another game for him to make that adjustment?
I think he makes the adjustment now. I think that other coaches might take a couple of games. Budenholzer take infinite games. But for the sake of Brad Stevens, him and Nick Nurse, I thought that series was a chess match that I thought it would be. I think that they are two of the best coaches in the entire league, if not on pace to become two of the best basketball minds ever. And I think Stevens will make the adjustments necessary. So I think Spoelstra is no slouch either. I think Spoelstra is a tremendous coach. I still think Stevens a little bit better. And I think that after going small a decent amount against Toronto towards the back end of that series, I think that will help them in game two when they decide to go small. And I think you can agree with me, they probably should be going small a bit more to try to take Adebayo away from the basket as well offensively because of the fact that Adebayo, after punting Tatum's dunk, they're going to try to spread the floor a little bit more. And Theis doesn't really help you with that. So I think they're going to limit Theis's minutes. I think they'll give Grant Williams a little bit more of a push. You?
Yeah, I think a lot of things had to go right for that first game to go over. And by the way, it just went over. I think what was it? 208.5 was it the same total in the first one?
I think so. I think it might have been a little bit lower actually.
I've got it listed. I've got it listed here at 208. I'm not sure that's what it was everywhere. So they put up 212 in regulation. And that's with Miami shooting, like we said, 44% from deep. Boston made 21 of 23 free throws. So there was a lot of things that had to go right to get it to that total. I think under is still got to be the lean here, especially if Brad Stevens makes the adjustment and takes Theis out of there and gives up some rebounds.
Do you agree with me? Because Adebayo, despite being a phenomenal passer, a phenomenal rebounder, and a good defensive player, I think you'll agree with me. He isn't exactly the person you go to for a bucket. He can do it, but he's definitely not the primary option for Miami sets when it comes to putting up points. No, most of Adebayo's action comes at the foul line, where he's looking to set up teammates coming around screens. So I think that you actually can get away with going extremely small, sacrificing a couple rebounds here or there, and just focusing heavily on switching every single screen. I think that's what they should do.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure they're going to have an answer for Adebayo without Theis in there, because
did they even have an answer for Adebayo with Theis? Because Adebayo
that's the thing. He got to the line. He had 11 free throws. So obviously they're struggling to guard him. I don't know. I think I understand the logic between going small, and I think that might be what they do.
I'm trying to think what else Boston can do, because Kanter
not sure it's going to work.
Kanter cannot be played in this series. He cannot be played. And Stevens knows that he can't be played, because if he ends up playing, they are going to pick and roll him to death. Kanter cannot play. So that's not an option. Robert Williams played a little bit in game one, and I didn't think he was that great. He was fine, but not really anything worth talking about. So I think that if you're going to talk about other alternatives, you're looking at Semi Ojeleye and you're looking at Grant Williams. And Grant Williams, despite being undersized, kind of has a PJ Tucker vibe to him, where he'll play an undersized center and he'll try to get by. Of course, PJ Tucker is the king of the undersized center, especially as I still can't believe he wasn't nominated for any all-NBA defensive teams, which I think is an absolute joke. But, yeah, I think that's what they're going to try to do. I think they're going to move Grant Williams to center, and at least for part of the game, and try to go extremely small and hope that that'll cause Miami to make some tough decisions defensively. So that's what I see happening in this game.
Okay, very good. So the one we both agree on the fact that we like.
I'd lean under.
Yeah, it's not. I think it's going to be a massive play. I don't think you're going to have a. I don't think you're going to have a 95-93 kind of game.
I also think that you have to factor in. I don't expect Miami to score 33 plus points in 2 separate quarters. I know they ended up scoring 18 and 16 in the first quarter and the third quarter or something like that. But, I mean, you give up 2 30-plus point quarters, the game's going over. That's just the way it is. I think you can agree with that. So I don't think that's going to happen. Because Boston had a couple of lapses there defensively for a couple quarters.
Yeah, they let Miami have a couple of runs there to close it out. It was 50-55. And that was really what sunk any under players. It was the second quarter.
Yeah,
as they
you had 60-something points in the second quarter.
It's 66 points in the third quarter.
Yeah,
I'd have to go back and check, but I'm guessing that's the highest scoring quarter either one of these teams have played in the playoffs.
Probably. There might have been one quarter maybe with Philly for Boston, but probably not. Yeah, I'd say it's definitely up there.
So
I'm hoping for a good game. But I'm just asking from a side perspective. I don't know if you're doing a play the day or a premium on it, but
I am.
Okay, that's why we haven't talked about it. Fair enough. Okay.
Yep.
But we're both leaning under.
Both leaning under. I think that's it's a tough game to handicap. It really is because there's a lot of speculation about what you need to do. And then again, you don't know how much you're going to panic because you play.
I think there is a chance Boston makes no adjustments and says we were up 12 going into the fourth quarter and we fell apart.
Exactly. Everything had to go right for Miami to get the tie there at the end of regulation. We're going to keep doing what we do. And I think that's a real possibility as well. So we'll see what Stevens does.
I think it's a possibility. I'm just throwing it out there. Expect at some point Boston to go extremely small.
All right, good enough. That's it, guys. That's our take on today's game. It should be a fun game. I think on that we can agree. It should certainly be a fun game to watch.
I'm not going to be watching most of it because I got the Islander game to watch, but it should be entertaining.
All right, good enough. And that's pretty much for our NBA show for today. Interested in what you guys are on. Are you playing with us? Are you going to tail us on the under here? You got some sides, whatever it is. Want to drop it in the comment section? Let us know. We'd be happy to take a look at that and see how everything goes. So we're always curious to see what everybody else is playing and what your take on the game is. And if you're looking for even more takes, more interesting facts and tidbits, don't forget to check out winnersandwhiners.com for a deep dive into this game as well as pretty much every game every single day. So check out winnersandwhiners.com for some of the best handicappers in the world each and every day. So for myself, for Scott Reichel, for all of us over here at winnersandwhiners.com, we appreciate you stopping by and joining us on Today in Sports Betting. We will see you next time. You guys have a great day. Good luck on all your plays and stay safe, stay healthy next time.